Hello, welcome to today's wonderful session on Quick Word. In line with popular demand, like you all requested, today we'll be going straight up into how to make a plan. In life, those who do not make a particular plan, those who do not have a plan for their life, end up living in the plans of others who do. The Bible says in the book of Ecclesiastes, the 10th chapter, the 15th verse, it says, "The labor of the foolish wearieth him, for he know not how to go to the city." Something to think about is the fact that we are not foolish, and also because God has a system, God has people, and God has this wonderful channel and this program to help you to find your way to the city. Why is it important? The Bible makes us to understand that we are cities set upon a hill. And so it's important that we know how to find our city, especially at a time like this. Considering this is the beginning of a new year, for some of you may be watching this at a later date. It's very important that you know how to achieve and how to accomplish the things which God has in store for you, even in this season and in all points of your life. To help us to understand and to accomplish and to achieve our goal of how to make a plan, we're going to divide today's teaching into two sessions. A quick reminder though that this is a follow-up message to our previous message. I'll set up the link somewhere here. You'll see the link up there and also in the description box. So today, like you all required or requested, we're going to teach you how to make a plan, particularly. There are two categories of two classes of today's discussion. We're going to look at constants and we're going to look at variables. The constants are important because these are to remain fixed. Whatever plan you're making, and they're applicable, they are cross-platform. You can use it in anything you're doing in any area of your life. And variables can change. Variables can change, like the word signifies. It's like building a tower, making any proper building. There is a skeleton, and then there are things which you can change, the furnishings and other things that you can change. But the skeleton has to remain the same. So today, I'd like you to relax. Feel free, get a note and jot down. We're going to look at 7 important constants and 7 variables that are important in making your plan. And I promise you, do stay to the end of this video. You will not be disappointed in any bit. Point number 1, your constant criteria or condition that you must consider in making a plan is 1, it must be goal-based. Now, I'm making this video with the assumption that you already have taken time to have a goal for your year or for your life or for this new endeavor which you are going into. Let's say it's a business plan, it's something you are starting up. I want to believe you already do. But if you don't have a plan yet, if you do not have a goal yet, and you would like me to make a video on goals, how to set up goals, and how to have goals, basically, I'd like you to leave a comment in the comment section. And if the comments or the demand is good, I can make a follow-up video to this one in my next video, perhaps. So go ahead and mention that if you want me to write on how to make goals and what your goals should be, especially for example in a year, for example, how to drop a goal, so to say, or goals rather. So the first thing is it has to be goal-based. The second thing, a plan that you're making must be consistent. Consistency. That's point number 2. It has to be consistent. What does that mean? It means it has to be repetitive, okay, and it has to be continuous. That's what consistent means. So whatever plan you're making has to be both repetitive and continuous. It has to be consistent. Let me say at this point quickly, the plan you're receiving, or this message you're receiving right now, this teaching, is not so much as relevant just for this season alone, but actually, if you imbibe it, it will help you a long way. Let me say this. It's better to invest a whole lot into making a plan, okay, and do a proper plan, than to just rush out into the year. Like I said the other time, you're not in competition with anybody, and so you should be relaxed. for some of you, you may now be needing to make your plan. It's okay. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. In fact, great companies invest a great deal into making a plan. For example, we know that currently Tesla, for example, they're working on their gigafactory in Europe, I think somewhere in Germany, and a lot was put into making it. A lot was put into making the plans for it. Now it's at the execution phase, and things are moving very rapidly. Great companies invest a great deal into groundwork, into architectural, what they call board work. So one of your greatest investments should be into your plan. Okay, so I plead with you to make sure you actually take steps. Just like I said last in the last previous teaching, take steps that will help you to transform your life. So point number 2, like I said, it's what? It has to be consistent. Point number 3, it has to be realistic plans. I found out in working with people that many times, generally as human beings, we have a very high tendency of being unrealistic. We know how to exaggerate things. We know how to dream very big, so to say, especially if you're a person of faith. But you have to be realistic. What does that mean? It means your plan must be doable. Don't go putting things that are not doable. Don't go putting things that are not doable in your plans. So you have to be very realistic and doable. Of course, that is why one of the pointers I gave in my last teaching was it's wise if you have someone that you can account to, who can help you proofread your plans. You have your pastors, you have leaders, or some other person of accountability somewhere in your life who can help you to proofread and that your plans are actually realistic and doable. Sometimes I stop people intentionally when they give me plans and let them know this is not realistic. I tell them sometimes it's too big. Are you sure you can do this? Because a lot of times folks just don't have realistic plans and goals. In fact, one of the reasons why people do not achieve their goals sometimes is because it's not realistic. And when they are unable and find it difficult to execute their plans, it's because it's unrealistic. So that's point number 3. Point number 4, your plan has to be all-inclusive. Your plan has to be what? All-inclusive. It's very important that you have an all-inclusive plan. All-inclusive plan. What does this mean? Take into consideration everything that is important in your life. Very important at this point, especially at this phase of your life. I see a lot of folks who sometimes they're making plans. They just make the plans all about the things that excite them and they're trying to achieve, and they forget to realize that they are human beings, and then they have things by the side that also have to be done. You have family, you have communication, you're a social being, and so make sure your plan include realistic things like fun time, rest time, social media time, because like it or not, these days we live in a social world and everybody does do social media. So if you make a plan and you do not include your social media times, particularly and specifically, you will find out that at the end of the day you'll be struggling somewhere because there's an unaccounted time in your whole schedule. Okay, so I encourage you to please go ahead and make sure that your plans are what? Realistic. They are realistic. The next thing I would like to bring to your attention, point number 5, is that it has to be long term. It has to be what? Long term. Your plan must be long term. Your plan must be long term. A good plan must be long term. What it means is it must be long lasting. It is something that you can work on and use for a very long time of your life. So for a long time of your life, or a very long season of your life. Remember, we're talking about the constants now. So a good plan you should think long term. You should think, okay, for example, in your plan, let's say you talk about when you want to wake up. I always advise people to be realistic and also to have long term in view. Yes, you may be a student right now. One day you're going to be a wife. One day you're going to be a husband. When is the time you want to be waking up? Is it compatible? Is it doable? Is it long term? Do you have that in mind? So you don't want to find yourself making just a plan based on a current situation of your life only that is just for a few seasons or a few phases. So have the long-term picture in mind. I'll give more details later on. And also, point number 6 is that your plan has to be what? Intentional. You have to have something you are trying to hit. You have to have a target. You have to have things you are trying to intentionally bring in and things you are trying to intentionally remove by reason of the plan. Any plan that is not intentional, you will not be motivated to keep doing. So find what is the intent. What am I intending to achieve by working with this plan? It's very, 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 very important. And of course, the last point on these constants is that your plan must be specific. What it means is your plan has to be in details. You have to be as detailed as possible. You have to say exactly. You have to break things down exactly. Preferably, you want to have a one word plan. Okay, something that can easily be remembered, something you can easily remember, something that that can easily stick with time. Generally the body absorbs things based on how absorbable, or how easy it is to assimilate. So if you're not, don't let your plan be so bogus. Don't make it so big that it even scares you to even look at it, or to even read it, or to even remember it. It has to be simple enough. So I plead with you to make sure that your plans are specific. Now, at this point, I would say it's one thing to have a plan. Okay, it's one thing to have a plan. It's another thing to have a goal. Right? Like I said, what I'm teaching you is assuming that you already have what goals that you are working towards. And like I said, if you do not know what to do or how to go about goals, and you want me to go ahead and make a video on goals, go ahead and leave a comment on this session. Leave a comment in the comment section. If you just type the word goals, or make a video on goals, anything as simple as that, it won't take you so long, and I'll make sure to make something good for you. But I want to say this: plans are the simple ways you execute your goals. If there are no goals, there can't be plans. If there are no goals, there can't be plans. So it's one thing to have goals. It's another thing to now answer the question, how? Remember, we began with Ecclesiastes, the 10th chapter, the 15th verse. It says, it reaches a point you should know how to get to your city. So the city is the goal. The city is the goal. How is what we call the plans. The plans help you to execute the goal. Okay? So I'll throw more light if you're interested when it's time to make on goals. Now let's go over to the variables. The variables are very, very important. There are 7 of them. They are variable because they change with individuals, and you can fix it, you can tweak a few things here and there. Variable number 1, 80% rule. You want to define your 80% satisfaction plans. So what you want to do is, when you make your specific and detailed plans, like already mentioned among the constants, you want to find out from that list of things, you want to define which ones consist or constitute your 80%. So there's such a thing as the 80-20 rule. There are those things in your life, your 20%, that can give you 80% satisfaction. So you want to find out, what are these things? What are those things that, in making my plans for my day, for my week, for my year, what are those things that I most necessarily need to do? And like I said, this is all still bordering around being realistic. People ask me sometimes, how do you manage to be able to do everything, and so on and so on. And I tell folks, I don't do everything. I'm not able to do anything. But I always find time to do what I consider to be most important. And that's the honest truth. And so is every one of us. That's because I live I have a list of things, and I have the ones that I need to and I must do, that I would just not trade for anything else. So you want to find out what is my 80%, what gives me 80% satisfaction? What is the thing that if I get to only do in a day, I'm okay, even if I get to move some other things to the next day? So that's what you want to define. It's important you define it already, because you're going to need it to include it in your plans. Eventually we'll get there. Variable number 2, you want to develop or design your daily routine. So I call that daily routine. You want to have a daily routine, okay? Things that you'd want to include on your daily list. So you sit down and think, what are the things I would like to have every day? What are the things I'd like to do every day as a matter of fact? What are those things that must be done every day? Think about it. You have 24 hours in a day. So think, what are those things that I would want to do every day? And be specific, like I said already. You want to consider, so every Monday, what would I want to be doing? Every Tuesday, what would I want to be doing? Every Wednesday, what am I going to be doing? And so on and so forth. So think through, spend time thinking. And like I said again, remember, the essence of this whole teaching is it's going to be relevant for you for a lifetime. And it gets easier over the years. To God be the glory. I've been teaching on things like this for a while now, and we have sons and daughters who are already moving fine and excellently and executing and becoming better, improving on something from 3-4 years ago. And before you know it, their life is already set on the right course. So I plead with you to make sure to go ahead and start, and don't be left behind if you're watching this. So yeah, you want to take time to define your daily routine. Okay. Point number 3, you want to specifically have a time. You want to have specific time for these things now. So in point number 2, we're speaking about, defining your daily routine, the things you want to do. So now you want to specifically allocate time to each of those things that you would like to do daily. And I say specific time. What that means is you want to have a start time and you want to have a finish time. Don't just say, my plan every day. Okay, for example, I want to read a book, I want to read a book for 2 hours. That's okay, but you want to say when. Okay, and what you cannot name, you cannot tame. What you cannot name, you cannot tame. You want to say particularly when. So let's say you want to make it. Let's say read, okay, from say 2 to 4 o'clock. Be specific. Don't say I want to read for 2 hours. That means nothing. It's not specific, and therefore it's not a plan. Okay, it's a wish. It's something else, but definitely not a plan. A plan must be specific. A plan must be specific, and so you want to allocate time to each and every one of them. Okay, I believe you got that. The next thing is you want to prioritize. You want to prioritize, like I began to say earlier in point number 1, amongst the variables. You want to prioritize. What does this mean? Everything is not equally important. In a day, there are many things you'd like to do, but unfortunately, it's not everything that you can actually execute. Many times things come up or something. So blessed be God if you're able to execute everything. Kudos to you also. But the truth of the matter is you want to think before time. So which are the things that I must prioritize, that are most important to me? From that, my 20-80%, remember we dealt with that on point number 1. And once you're able to establish your priority, so you make a priority list, which I believe you already have done, like I made reference to. Of course, why do you do that? Having a priority list helps you to know what's most important and which are the things to come first, the things that you can do with and the things you cannot do without. And once you have the priority list, you want to begin with your day with the most important, the things that you consider that are of priority, because you want to put your best into the day. Your routine, your daily routine should begin with your most important things, because you do not know what's going to happen midday. You do not know what's going to happen in the evening or at night. So the first things you want to begin with are the things of the topmost priority at the beginning of your day. So for example, let's say you want to pray. If you want to pray, the right thing to do, you want to, if topmost priority for you in a whole day, for example, is praying, then your praying should be put at the beginning part of the day. Some of you want to make sure you speak to a loved one. Put that at the beginning of the day, at the topmost part of your day. So yeah, that's what it means to prioritize. The next thing, point number 5, is for you to mix. Some of you, depending on the level or the stage of your life right now, there are a lot of things that are already occupying certain parts of your day, maybe in a fixed way or something. Let's say your work, let's say that's your job, let's say your studies, and so on. So you want to mix, that's to say to build around something that is already existing. So you want to intentionally include this in your plan. So let's say you work 8 hours a day, say from 8 to 4 p.m. So what you want to do is, in your schedule or in your plan that you're making, you want to make sure you have time allocated for that. And of course, it will help you also to be able to know how to take advantage, for example, of intervals or breaks during this period and also after, around them. So you make or build your plan around something that is already existing. That's what I mean when I say mix things up. So basically, make sure you do that depending on the phase of your life that you are in. And then, of course, point number 6, you want to transfer. After you've done all of these things, you want to transfer it into, say, a calendar, a scheduler, into something. Most phones these days, most gadgets come with such setups. And I'd say this, remember, this is 2021 now, when this video is being made, but we are now in the digital age, brother, dear sister. I know some of you prefer and you love writing physically and other things, but yeah, there's a time for everything. There's a time to do such, and then there's a time not to do such, And like, remember when I said long term, when you're trying to do something long term, you have to think of safety. You have to think long term. You don't want to, again, you don't want to lose your paper. You don't want to, your book. You don't want your book to get wet or to catch fire, and then you don't know what to do with your plans and other things. Say, you don't want to have it hanging there just on the wall. just have it digital, okay? Of course, preferably saved to a cloud account or something that you can always easily refer to, and so on and so forth. Have them in picture modes and other things saved, because remember, like I said, it has to be long term and long lasting. And so you want to transfer it into, it's easier to transfer into digital gadgets, for example, if you have it set up already into schedulers, into apps and so on and so forth, if you have it already set up in a digital format. So these days most gadgets will easily allow you to import schedules. You can easily import a schedule into so if you have it written somewhere, you can easily import it, and you can easily transfer it to a different gadget and so on and so forth just by syncing. So it makes things a whole lot easier. I recommend for you that you do go ahead and use your gadget, check for your scheduler on your gadget, and transfer all of these plans which you have now done there. Lastly, point number 7, alerts and alarms. Very important. When you transfer this into your calendars, go ahead and set alarms. Some apps, native apps or on your gadgets already have the abilities to in your calendar mode to set alerts or to ask you if they should alert you when it's time. So the alerts can come directly from the calendar or the scheduler, and or you can have external apps that are for alarms and alert purposes that you can attach it to. Why is it important? It's one thing to have a plan, it's one thing to have a very good and nice plan, it's another thing to actually keep up with track, because you can be doing something else, you can go beyond your plans, but an alert will consistently remind you again and again and again. And of course you want to set an alarm that is like I said at the beginning, consistent. So it means the plan is going to be there for the whole period, okay? Every day, every month, every week, every year. And the intent, remember this, is it will bring you to a place of habit. It will bring you to a place of habit. It will bring you to a place of habit that even before the time comes, you already know what am I supposed to be doing, or what you're supposed to be doing at a particular time. And your body easily absorbs it because it is something it is now used to, okay? And of course, I want to say this. Why is it important even to go through all of this? Why did you watch and listen all the way to this end, to the end of this video? Because it is only by planning that you're able to reclaim your life. It's only by planning. If you've lost times in time past, if your time has been unaccounted for, then the only way to reclaim your time and to reclaim your life is by planning. Let me say this to somebody. The Bible makes us to understand. It says we should redeem the times, okay? A wise man went on and said, if you love life, don't waste time. So account for every time, every hour, every minute, every second of your life, and every week. If you love time, he said, then if you love life, then don't waste time. For that is the stuff which life is made of. So it's on that note that I want to say thank you so much for staying to the end. And like I said, if you have any comments, any suggestions, anything you'd like me to speak about, please go ahead, leave it at the comment section, and gladly I'll be here to make it for you. So until next time, I want to say with all my heart, I love you. I'm praying for you. The Lord bless you. And remember to not only be a hearer, remember to not be only a listener, remember to not only be someone who loves being entertained, but go ahead and be a doer. And I promise you, you have a great life. I love you. Bye-bye.